G'day, I'm Melissa Shannon, founder of digitalscrapbookinghq.com, and we are back in Photoshop Elements 2021 for our ABCs of PSE. We're getting close to the end now. Today is the letter Y for the I tool in Photoshop Elements. So today I wanted to start off with our classic issue, which is the red eyes. So maybe we don't have so much of this issue now, we don't use flash as much, but here's a classic photo from probably 2011-ish of Emily and my husband at an airport lounge. I feel like, will we ever be back to eating communal food from an airport lounge? Not sure when that will happen, but nonetheless, let's fix up this eye. So what we do is we just use the eye tool, click and drag over the red eye, or just click in the pupil. Now it works quite well, and as you can see, it even works with Emily's eyes off onto one angle. So we have a few options here. Firstly, we have Autocorrect, which does, a pretty awesome job before and after. Or we can manually adjust the darkness or the pupil radius that we want for our eyes. But honestly, I'm pretty impressed with the autocorrect. So we do have this option to fix pet eye. That's not an autocorrect, but we can just click and drag over the eye and improve the look of those eyes. So the final section of the eye tool is the closed eyes correction. I'm going to use the open closed eyes to help with these. They're not fully closed, but I haven't got my hands on a fully closed photo. I could probably go back into the archives. I know some people just blink much more often than others, and so you'll often catch one member of the family with their eyes closed. So in this case, it's me. I'm half blinking, I'm half squinting. Let's fix those closed eyes. So here's the open closed eyes dialog. You can choose which face you want to use, and then you can try sample eyes. Ooh, wouldn't I love to have eyes that big? None of the sample eyes really work too well, but they're kind of weird and fun to look at. If you had a perfectly lit photo, I guess it might work. So I'm actually going to use some of my own eyes as my source. You can open eyes from your computer organizer or the photo bin. And in this case, I'm just going to go with my actual eyes from another shot. So you see before, after. Much better. Let's click OK, and those eyes are beautifully inserted. The great thing about the open closed eyes tool is that your source photo, you don't have to be looking exactly in the same direction. It can set the angle of those eyes for you. So I hope this has been a helpful video showing you how you can fix red eyes with one click, how you can repair pet eyes, and how you can open closed eyes, all with the eye tool, which is the letter Y, or the eye tool here in the enhance toolbox. I hope this video has been helpful. If you've enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment to let me know if you're going to try the eye tool, and don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon so that you don't miss any videos in the series. You can also subscribe to my email list where I'll be notifying you of each new video, and you'll also receive my printable shortcut cards for Photoshop Elements. So you'll have a quick reference for these tools when you're working on your photos. If you'd like to learn more about photo editing or digital scrapbooking, you can head to digitalscrapbookinghq.com.